Hi, I'm back again to speak about how to lower our stress and overwhelm response. In part one, we spoke about the difference between anxiety, worry, and stress. And now we're going to talk about what to do about those feelings. I'm Delia McCabe, and I help people who feel overwhelmed, stressed, and lacking in energy in their lives feel calm, energized, with focused thinking again. So let's look at the first point. The first point involves breathing well. Now, this may seem like a very odd thing to say because we all know how to breathe, don't we? But the thing about breathing is that it's a very direct way for us to influence our stress response when we know how to do it correctly. But firstly, let me just explain. Our autonomic nervous system does things in our body and our brain automatically. So it regulates our heart rate, it regulates our breathing automatically, and a number of other things. But it is divided into two different systems. We have a sympathetic nervous system, which is actually our stress response system. And we have the parasympathetic nervous system, which is actually our rest and digest system. Now, when we're very stressed and overwhelmed, we get more activity from the SNS, obviously, and the PNS doesn't get a look in. We never feel calm and relaxed because the SNS is always on. Now, one way for us to very quickly switch the PNS on is for us to breathe differently. So think about it this way. Every time we breathe in, our SNS gets switched on. Every time we breathe out, our PNS gets switched on. So if we just learn the knack of breathing out for a little bit longer than we breathe in, we're switching our PNS on for longer than our SNS. And this just means breathing into a count of 4 and breathing out to a count of 5. In this way, we automatically allow our body to be in a calmer state versus being in a stressed state over a period of time. So when you feel very overwhelmed and anxious and stressed, the first thing to think about is how am I breathing, and focus more on your out breath, make it longer than your in breath. So that's breathing. The second thing to do, which may seem like a very weird thing to do, is soften your eyes. Now just think about this. If you were racing through the forest, trying desperately to get away from that tiger, what would you be doing? You would be very focused. Your eyes would be very focused on looking for an escape route, wouldn't they? So what happens when we are very stressed? Our body doesn't know that there's no tiger to escape from. So we still have the same physiological response. That means our eyes are on the alert, constantly looking, and they're very, very focused. The difference is that when we relax our eyes, it sends a message to our body and our brain that everything is under control and that we actually calm. So a simple way to do this is to squish your eyes closed very, very tightly and then open them and allow them to feel soft, especially at the edges. And you will feel naturally that your breathing will slow down and that you'll feel calmer. The third thing to do to switch your PNS on is to press down. Just imagine that you're trying to squeeze the last little bit of urine out of your bladder and you're pressing down on your pelvic floor. This sends a message to your vagus nerve, which I'll discuss in a moment, to tell your brain that everything is fine and you are calm. This may seem a little odd, but do it a few times, 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off, and you'll feel that pressing down motion, which is actually called the Valsalva maneuver, calms you down. And the fourth thing to do to switch your PNS on is to yawn. This may also seem very odd because we know that we yawn when we look at someone else that we're close to and they yawn. And we know that we also yawn when we're really tired in an attempt to get more oxygen into our body. But it's also a way for us to switch our PNS on, which is great because it lowers the stress response. So when you feel very stressed, try to yawn. Even if you open your mouth very wide and close your eyes and imagine someone else yawning, you can often stimulate the yawning response yourself. Now, why do all these things work? I mentioned the vagus nerve. Now, the vagus nerve is a very important nerve because it's a direct connection between the brain and the rest of our body. And vagus actually is the Latin word for wandering. It's a very important and strong nerve that runs through all of our tissues and organs in our body and sends messages back to the brain to tell the brain what's going on down here below. Now, when we change our breathing and make our PNS breathing more prominent, when we soften our eyes, when we do that pressing down maneuver, and when we yawn, the vagus nerve picks up on all the activity that is happening in our body due to those activities and tells the brain, you can relax, you can calm down, everything is fine. There's no target to run away from. You can stop producing or stop telling the body to produce adrenaline because all is well. So those 4 simple practices can instantly get you into a state of feeling calmer and more relaxed by switching your PNS on, which tells your vagus nerve, and changes the vagal tone of your central nervous system, allows you to calm down and feel relaxed. I really look forward to hearing about how you use those and which one you find more useful, because over a period of time, naturally, as you're learning to work with me and you understand, we build up a neural pathway for these activities that can support us. And if we do them over and over, they just become part of who we are and part of what we do during the day. And over time, we just find ourselves feeling calmer and managing our lives more effectively. So let me know which one you enjoyed the most and which one you find gives you the most benefit. Chat to you again soon. Bye.